All right, Shalom, Shalom. I'm Araya Allah coming at you with another lesson straight out the Lion's Den camp of Yasha. But before I get started with this lesson, I would like to give all praises to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son in their proper true names. And we're going to start off by saying Ka, Halayim, La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ha, Rakah, Kudash, Ma'amath. Definitely want to give double honors to the elder apostles of GMS. Also want to give double honors to the elder apostle of the Lion's Den camp, Aharwam. All right, Shalom to the elect and and the rest of the Salaki Shalom to the Lion's Den camp and to the rest of the elect that's out there. Salaki Shalom, Shalom. All right, today's lesson, man, is gonna be going into your boy Donald Trump, and the way he likes to boast and and brag about himself. All right, that's a very prideful man, right? But at the end of the day, everything that he brags about is going to be turned onto his own head, man. The Lord is exposing this place, Babylon, for his weakness, man. All right, I'm going to start off with a precept real quick. This is Job 20:4, and it reads, Knowest thou not that this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short? Right? See, the triumphing of the wicked is short, man. As rough paraphrase it, right? Because the devil have what he seek who he may devour because he has a short time, right? He knows he has to be quick to accomplish what he wants to accomplish because he knows at any moment the Lord, right, Yahweh shall show up, man, right, and trample this system, trample the people that run this system, the wicked. All right, they triumph is only for a short time, man. All right, back at verse 5, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, man. Right, the joy of a hypocrite. Man. All right, this is an article from CBS News. It reads, says Trump says his end. Trump says he's ended 6 or 7 wars. Here's what the record shows. In recent weeks, President Trump has repeatedly claimed he deserves credit for ending 6 or 7 wars during his first months in office, arguing, right, that he should receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his work. Quote, I stopped 7 wars and they're big ones too, Mr. Trump said Friday. I've settled 6 wars and a lot of people say 7 because there's one that nobody knows about, end quote. He said in an August 19 interview. A White House official provided a list of 7 conflicts the president is referencing to, right, which is the Israel and Iran, which we know that's not done. All right, Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo, Armenia, and I always chop this this name up when I try to pronounce, but Azerbaijan, all right, Thailand and Cambodia, India and Pakistan, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Serbia and Kosovo. All right, it says, quote, there has been more progress towards peace than ever before because of this president's leadership, end quote, the officials wrote. Man, they they love that man Trump, boy. But it's funny because he's boasting about this and how he should receive a Nobel Peace Prize, right? But what about this? Right, this is from DailyMail.com. It says 21,000 U.S. casualties, right? Millions of civilians trapped brink of war. America could lose thousands of men, hundreds of aircrafts, submarines, and dozens of ships, including aircraft carriers, if China moves to blockade Taiwan. Right? A chilling new series of war games show how the United States would be drawn into the dispute and losses could quickly escalate. The warning comes as Taiwan compared Xi Jinping to Hitler and claimed he thinks about conquering their country every day. Meanwhile, Xi Jinping welcomed Russia's Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister uh, Narendra Modi, right, for talks in Beijing on Monday. Xi Jinping, Putin, and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, right, are set to attend, which was today, a massive military parade in the Chinese capital on Wednesday. Right, it says U.S. intelligence believes a first step toward taking over Taiwan may be a Chinese naval blockade, and it could happen within 2 years. Right, so you ain't really stopping too much of nothing. You bragging about these little small, well, none of those places that's besides Iran and Israel, right, could bring forth World War III, right? But these countries can, right? Not just Israel and Iran, right? Iran being the ones to draw them out, right? Draw them into this war, right? Let's go to this article real quick, and we'll get some precepts, man. Because this, he bragging about receiving a Nobel Peace Prize, right? But the main war you haven't stopped, right, was Russia and Ukraine, right? You still are at it with China over Taiwan, right? And these are the major powerhouses of the world, man. People that's at the top leaderboard of the GDP, people with the most nuclear arsenals, right? You haven't stopped nothing with these countries like Russia, right? Like China, right? North Korea is another one. It's like the pit bull. You know, you ain't stopped nothing with none of these three major powerhouses, man. It says Russia has vowed to help China overtake the United States to become the world's biggest producer of nuclear power. You ain't stopping none of that, right? But you want a Nobel Peace Prize, man. Yeah, hold on, grab precept, man. So like you, I don't know why this app does do me like this. Come on, not an app. Don't. I was finna say. All right, back at Job 20. All right, I'm gonna jump down to. Matter of fact, we'll just keep going. Verse 6. Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? Right? 'Cause it's gonna be, dust in the wind, man. You know, Trump, your legacy ain't gonna be pretty, too much of nothing, man. At the end of the day, verse 8: He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. The eye, so he should be chased away as a what? He shall be chased away as a vision of the night. The eye also which saw him, Salaki, the eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. Right. And ultimately, that's at the end all say all, that'd be America completely destroyed, man. Wiped out, turned into the lake of fire. Right. Where his place, will be completely desolate, man. You know. It says, right. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hands shall restore their goods. His bones are full of sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust, man. Right. Because, you know, when you go into the history of these this wicked nation of people, right? And heathens, right? Esau being that head heathen, that head of the wickedness. They've been that way since birth, man. Ever since they gained that blessing, where Esau gained the blessing of the fatness of the earth, and he was gonna gain it with the sword, right? They're born into that, through that bloodline. They're born with that mindset, right? Born with that spirit on them, right? But here's the point. Right, verse 12. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hid it under his tongue, right? And that's really what really all Edomites, do. Even dealing with Vladimir Putin, right? Trump, right? You can also go into the rest of the heathens as well, you know. X Jinping, right? Kim Jong Un, right? These the people that you should be, worried about. Trump. These the countries that, once you move them out the way, then you can brag. Then you can say, I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. But, that all of that goes against the will of the Father, right? The will of the Father is to gather them to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right, where He would plead with them, right? Also within that, right, so fanning America, you know, and what that which goes into nuclear destruction, man. This place being utterly wiped out. All right, it says, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat is it. So like yet his meat in his bowels is turned. It is the gall of asp, right? The poison, right? Talking about like venomous snakes, right? It's poison in the stomach within him, right? Verse 15, he have swallowed down riches, right? Going around conquering, right? Everything, right? Speaking of the nation of Esau, right? And their allies, right? The other heathens, right? But when you look at America today, right, what have they done? Right? They have gone around and put bases on everybody's country, right? Going around stealing their goods, stealing their resources, unaliving the people, unaliving the government, right? Enforcing their democracy on them, right? That wickedness, man. It says he hath swallowed down, right, riches, and he shall vomit them up again, right? Because the ones, while he's sitting there bragging about these mini wars that, he feels the need to brag about, right? You still haven't done nothing against the will of the Father. You ain't did nothing when it comes to Gog and Magog, right? You ain't did nothing when it comes to Moab, right? You haven't did nothing when it comes to North Korea. You shouldn't be boasting about anything. All right, it says, verse 15 again, he have swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. Right? How he's going to vomit them up again, right? Through nuclear destruction, right? Just like how they dropped the big, what it is, dropped the nuke on the yeah, dang it, Salakia. Just like they dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? The same thing is going to be turned upon America's head, right? Where the scriptures state that this place will be destroyed with 200 million warheads, man. All right. It says, and that's how he's gonna vomit them up, man. The Lord gonna hit him so hard in the stomach, it's gonna make him just vomit up everything, man. Because you got a lot to pay for, man. All right. And it wasn't never for you to have anyways. All right, it says, because you sold it. But anyway, it says, and he shall vomit them up again. Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asp, right? The viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter, right? Because, for one, the kingdom is only for the Israelites, man. And that'll be Israel as a whole, but 2/3 of them gonna have to suffer right along with these heathens, man. They won't be able to enjoy, right, and be parts of that this second covenant until they're born back into it, man. But 2/3 of our people they're gonna have to they're not gonna be able to see the brooks of honey and butter, right? Verse 18, that which he labored for shall he restore. He shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, right? Who is that? That's the Lord's people, the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, right? the speckled bird, but mainly the ones that's over here on in Americas, man, all the way up from shit past Canada, all the way down to the South America, man. You know, the majority of the Lord's people is here, and look what He has done to the Native Americans. Look what He has done to the Latinos, right? Shit, hell, just look what ICE is doing right now, right? Look what they have done to the Negroes, man. You know, you gonna have to vomit all that back up, man. You know, it says, dang, right, verse 19 again, because he have oppressed and have forsaken the poor, because he have violently taken away an house which he builded not, right? That's how they get down. You know, they lazy, they don't want to do too much, so they rather take what you get, you know. Just like this country, man. You know, and claimed everything to be theirs, right? The history, the monuments, you know, the everything that was built here, you know, was built off our backs, man. You know, a lot of this stuff was already here. You know, Native Americans built, you know, our our people, right? The Northern Kingdom was already over here building things, man. You know, um, but what they'll show you in history is that all they had was little tents out there. Man, when you go down, like look what the Latinos are doing in Mexico, right? Those are also Israelites, man, building big stupid pyramids, and we got pyramids right here in America, right? That they have covered up, you know. And this devil gonna have to pay, you know. Surely, right? Verse 20. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired, man. You know, because in their mindset, you know, they feel like they can't be moved out the way. They're doing all this magnificent work that nobody can stop them, right? That the Heavenly Father can't stop them. You know, I ooh, just made me think of a scripture, right? What as the scripture say, right? The Lord said He would. Now I'm about to botch it up. Let me grab that. Salakia. 1 second. Bear with me, Babaka Shah. But that's the mindset of these wicked devils, man. You know, have Malachi 1 and 4, right? And it reads, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build in the desolate places, right? This has always been their mindset, man. You know, no matter what they go through, right? They feel like I'm gonna just keep reading. It says, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever, man. Right. But that's the mindset of this wicked devil, man. You know, no matter what the Lord do to them, they feel like they're gonna just keep rebuilding. They're gonna keep rebuilding. That's why the Lord called them the border of wickedness, man. You know, they you know, they have that's their mindset, like they can't be stopped. No matter what the Lord do, no matter what His Son does, what you know, Yahweh Shai, no matter what the elect does, you know. Verse 20, back at Job 20 and 20. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. Right? Because it's going all, you know, this the Lord has an indignation against them forever, man. So at the end of the day, where if the Lord had a bullseye on somebody, what nation of people will it be? Right, them. You know, Esau, Edom. All right, man. So, you know, that's their mindset, bro. All right, back at the article, man. It says, this is the one that says Russia's terrifying nuclear offer to China could topple the U.S. Right, because the Lord said He's gonna raise up Gog and Magog, man, to come against this place, man, and the state of Israel, and He's gonna be a guard unto His fellow BRICS nations, right? the other nation that's part of the BRICS. Right. But back to the article, it says, all right, Alexei, the chief of Russia's state nuclear corporation, Rosatom, made the stark admission in a state TV broadcast on Wednesday, following talks in Beijing. Right, Alexei Salakia, it revealed that Moscow is, quote, already helping China topple the U.S. from its perch, because see, of its perch, because that's the, just like we was reading in Job, right? They basically try to set their nest upon the stars. That's their mindset, right? As far as America can't be touched, they're above all other nations, right? Not only that, going into that particular scriptures, talking about how they built skyscrapers, and even, as much as them putting the ISS in this, in orbit, but that's their mindset, that Tower of Babel, man. That's just their mindset. They want to, be, exalted the most. They want to be, over everyone. They want to conquer everything. They want to destroy everything and put everybody in submission under them. Right, even the Most High. Right, but that's that perch that they're up on. We were just reading that in Job. Right? Let's go back up, Job 20, and right, yeah, Job 20. Oh, what I just had. So like, I want to say, I'm just trying to find the precepts that are going through all of it. Right, yeah, Job 20 and 17. No, Salaki. Gotta be further up. Right, Job 20 and 6. Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung. Right, Salaki for that, y'all. But yeah, his excellency, right? Because America is, they're the warhammer of the, of the earth. All these countries have been in fear when it came to dealing with America. They have exalted themselves above all nations, man. And that's their mindset, and that's really, because who runs it? Esau Edom, and that's the spirit of Esau, man. Though his excellency, verse 6, mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung. Back to the article, it says, right, Alexei revealed that Moscow is already helping China topple the U.S. from its perch, and has helped build 4 more reactors. China has ambitious plans for the development of the... I hate all these freaking ads, man. So like, China has ambitious plans for the development of atomic energy, right? Alexei said. All right, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. All right, it says the task has been set to catch up and surpass the United States in installed capacity, which means reaching a capacity of more than 100 gigawatts. Right? When asked if Russia would assist China, which is racing to build dozens of reactors, Alexei added, "Of course, we will help. We are already helping. The United States currently holds the world title for the largest network of nuclear reactors, with nearly 97 gigawatts of installed capacity. China, as of April 2024, has 53.2 gigawatts of operating nuclear power reactor capacity, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration." Right? I might make that my I'll get it later. All right. Alexis said that China needs a large amount of uranium and nuclear fuel for its plans, which demand a new generation of closed nuclear fuel cycle reactors based on Russian technology. See? It goes into Russia being a guardian to these other nations. Ezekiel 38. The broadcast was made following talks in Beijing, right? As Russian President Vladimir Putin, North Korea leader Kim Jong-un, and Chinese President Xi Jinping meet for a military parade. The parade Wednesday marked the 80th anniversary since the end of World War II, right? Victory over Japan. It's crazy, right? Because this is all happening for the celebration of the ending of World War II, of the victory for China, right, over Japan, right? So you have all these major powerhouses, right? You got the Prime Minister of India, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong Un, right? You got all these major powerhouses, right, celebrating, right, while Trump sitting over here pouting and talking about a Nobel Peace Prize for a small mini wars, right? Because he can't touch these major nations, right? And these are the major nations that could bring forth World War III, that are going to bring forth World War III, right? Thus saith Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, right? So he can brag all day about that petty stuff, man, or that minor stuff. I ain't gonna say petty, but that minor stuff, right? Compared to these nations and what they could bring forth, the destruction and the war that they can bring forth, right, worldwide, right, which would be the end result for which would be the end for America, which will be the end result of the prophecy for the land of America, right, being completely turned to a lake of fire, man, via nuclear destruction. All right, it says it was the first time the three leaders, all major rivals of the West. It was the first time the three leaders, all major rivals of the West, have ever gathered in the same place at the same time, right? And Trump just had a meeting with Vladimir Putin, which didn't do anything. Because I did a video about this, Trump sized him, right? You're going to do a flyover, right? You try to do a power move on Vladimir. Vladimir ain't no chump, man. The Lord say he lifting up the spirits of the Medes right now, man. Speaking of, those spirits are over there in Russia right now, man. Raising them up, man, and getting ready to go to war with America, man. Go to war with the West. But as it was saying in the article, it was the first time, that all three leaders, right, were in one spot. They was all in one spot. If you would have had Iranian leaders over here running America at that time, right, they would have struck right then and there. They would hit all leaders all at once. But Trump want to brag about 6 or 7 wars that he done stopped. And he's worried about a Nobel Peace Prize. He should be worrying about that food turning in his stomach. As we were just reading in Job. Everything, his stomach real sour right now. Because he see what's about to happen. He see America about to. I was just looking at an article saying that Trump, I don't know how real it is. I didn't read it yet. Talking about Trump, stepping down. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm sure it's probably not true, but if I'm sure that's crossed his mind at least once. He like, boy, these boys ain't playing. They is not playing with you. And it really ain't even them. It's Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. But again, the Lord's gonna, all that bragging you doing, Trump, and all that wickedness America had done, all that's gonna be turned and put returned onto America, man. You reap what you sow. This Obadiah 1, I'm gonna grab a couple precepts and I end it, y'all. All right, Obadiah 1:15, and it reads, right, subtitled "The Day of the Lord and the Future." Right, we are now in that future right now. Right, verse 15: For the day of the Lord Yahweh right? It's near upon all the heathen, right? That's all heathen nations outside of Israel, man. This, not the state of Israel, the actual people, right? It says, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee, right? All the pillaging and all the robbing and unaliving and, stealing the riches and stealing, taking land, placing your democracy on countries and your religion on countries, you know, because of all of that and all the destruction and bloodshed you have done, right? Hiroshima, Nagasaki is a good example. All that's going to be returned upon your own head, man. Since y'all created it, y'all gonna be destroyed by it, right? Because the Lord is allowing these other nations to use that, right? These are the weapons of the Lord's indignation, man. These are all the weapons of the Lord's armory, man. He's giving that knowledge to these other countries like Gog and Magog, right? Vladimir Putin in Russia, China, Xi Jinping and his military forces, all his people that he has under him, saying, this is all coming from the Lord, man. And why? Because of everything America has done, right? Really, everything that this system, the revised Roman Empire has done to the world, man. And when I say to the world, meaning, Job 3:16. If you know, you know. But just going into the world, we, the salt of the earth. We, us, the children of Israel, man. All right. Verse 15, it says, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. Right? For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, right? So shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. Just like we was reading in Job, man. So all that stuff that they have done to the elect, to the Lord's people, everything, man. Even dealing with the bloodshed, all that's gonna happen to these heathens, man. Verse 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. For who? The whole entire world. No sir. Right? But the world, right? John 3:16, right? The orderly arrangement of people, right? Which are the Israelites, man. And it's not going to be all Israelites. 2/3 of them going to end up just like them heathens, but only for the 1/3 and 144,000, Or I say it like this: 1/3 men, women, and children, right? As well as the 144,000 men that'll be the governing body under Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, right? It says, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Man, it's a wrap for y'all, man. Thus saith Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. Let's go to see what this precept says real quick. Let's go to Matthew 10. And jump down to this Matthew 10 and 34 in this red letter. Right? So who's speaking? Yahushua, his name ain't Jeebus. All right. Matthew 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. This Yahushua speaking. I came not to send peace, but a sword. But a sword, man. So when the Lord come, right? That's why he say, be ye holy, man. Be separate. Be spiritually separate from this wickedness, man. Because when he come, he coming to, to unalive a lot of people, man. This goes into a lot more other stuff, but and when I saw that, man, I'm like, man, the Lord didn't lie. He's not an author, not an author of confusion, right? The Most High is not an author of confusion, so and his son, only begotten son, is not gonna be an author of confusion, right? He gonna tell you straight up, And even in the parables, for the elect's sake, he spoke to them in parables because it's not for everybody. It's only for the elect, But he made it plain upon tables for them, right? And was passed down to us, and we continue to feed our people, right? These living waters, man. All right, let's go to Psalms 7. Let's go to Psalm 7 and 16. All right. I'm going to jump up just a little bit. This is Psalm 7 and 11. Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai judges the righteous, and Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is angry with the wicked every day. Every day. And that even goes for, because when you continue to read Ezekiel 38, that goes into, the Lord saying he's against Russia too, Gog and Magog, but he going to use them. But he's against their ass too. They heathens, right? But he going to use them to wipe out America. Well, look at here. To at least, start World War III. And Yahweh Shai, he coming in to clean, Dang, that made me think of the BG song, Clean Up Man. Ooh, I ain't gonna go there. All right, but anyway, it says Psalm 7:11. Right, Yahweh judges the righteous, and Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. Right, because what we were just reading in Matthew 10. Right, the Lord coming with that fierce anger, boy. Check him out. He say he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready, right? And that's going into those nuclear missiles, ICBMs, right? That's going to be shot from missile silos, from submarines, from Navy ships, from airships. Man, it's going to be going down, And without that covering of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, all right, you're going to be in a sad case, man. Yahweh Rock is part of that number to be part of the 144 hope for elect, 144 elect, right? I'm being hopeful to be a part of that number. All right, Yahweh Rock because it's always the Lord will, man. It's not thy will, like it's not my will, it's not your will, it's not the will of these heathens, right? But it's the will of the Father. All right, verse 13, he have also prepared for him the instruments of death. And what is that? What is the instruments of death today? ICBMs, right? Man. He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors, right? All the heathens, right? But mainly Esau, Edom. Mainly displaced America, right? But all the heathen, right? It said he have also prepared for him the instrument of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors, man. Not against the whole world, right? And not against the world, John 3:16, right? But meaning his elect, right? But just the wicked, though, right? Verse 14, behold, he travaileth with iniquity and hath conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. Who is this, right? Who is in control today? These heathens got to be moved out the way, man. Right? They have conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. Right? Dealing with the Vatican Church. Dealing with Islam. Right? Dealing with those is not reallys. All this is nothing but confusion and mischief, man. Right? And falsehood. Right? Verse 15, he made a pit, right? The atomic bomb is one of them, and digged it, and is falling into the ditch which he made. Because those 200 million warheads gonna fall on this place, man. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pet. I almost said plate, but you're right. Verse 17, I will praise Yahweh according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name, IUIC, right, of the Lord, Most High, right? Yahweh, right? The Most High himself. Let's go Psalms 141 and 10, and I'll end it. Come on. All right. Psalms 141 and verse 10. Verse 8. Psalms 141 and 8. But my eyes are unto thee, O God, right? Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. Right? It said, but my eyes are unto thee, O God, the Lord. Right? In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares which they have laid for me, and the gins of the workers of iniquity. Right? Keep me separate from them, and keep me separate from the snares, those traps that they have laid. Right? What's the first one that should have popped in your mind? The MOTB. You know? Keep us from that, Lord. Yahweh Ratazah. You know, he keep me and the rest of the Akim, man, you know, safe and away from that wickedness, man. You know, speaking of that RFID CHIP, right? Micro CHIP that they're gonna implement and inject into your body. All right. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, right? Whilst that I withal escape. All right, with all escape, man. And that's, you know, that's our prayer, man. You know, to allow them to fall into their own traps, right, and allow them to be destroyed within that, and for us to be delivered out of it, man. Right, delivered. You know, as long as you don't take that MOTB, right, the mark of the beast, right, and as long as you're part of the elect that was ordained since the beginning, right, you're going to be saved out of it, man. You know, you just got to have that faith and that mindset that, you know, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is, you know, faithful and true, and that, you know, we have a way to escape all of this wickedness, man. But I just wanted to go into some precepts, man, and show how wicked this damn devil is. You know, boasting about a Nobel Peace Prize, about these micro wars that he claiming, you know, have stopped. You know, but you ain't stopped. You ain't really stopped anything, man. You ain't stopped nothing that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is bringing. Right? He's still amping up Gog and Magog. Right? He's still using Moab as a wash pot. Right? Man. All right, so I ended there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, man. You know, remember to be ye separate, be ye holy, right? Be separate spiritually, right? Your mind should be separated from this, from Babylon as a whole, man. Spiritually, you know. And we spiritually, you know, separate ourselves until Yahweh shall come get us, man. All right, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to those who it needs. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to those who it was edifying for. I just messed that all up, but it's all good. Lord willing, this lesson edifying, man. Shalom and DTA.